So
Lovely.
thank you so much for joining us.
My
How have you
pleasure.
been?
Oh, all right. It's a strange time, but everything, one day is like the next. But what do? You just keep, one foot in front of the other, as they say.
That's right. That's right. You've just come out with a brilliant new single,
Thank you.
and the video clip, which we are loving. I bet you get a lot of questions about that clip.
Yeah, well, not that many. People kind of pretty much, get it on first view. It's not that subtle.
Yeah.
I
Have
guess
you had?
the only question I really get is like they say, where'd you get those masks from? And in fact, that was the easiest thing of all. They just literally Halloween masks you could buy online from like the party suppliers. So there was a Trump mask, there was a Putin mask. It was like, it's so easy.
Who came up with the concept of the video?
That was my idea. Yeah. So
Brilliant.
basically, when I wrote the song, I deliberately wrote it as being an attack song at someone rather than me singing about that man over there who I don't like, Mr. Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd rather make it more personal because I find those sort of songs are just have a little bit more bite in them than that feeling of distance and being sort of removed, and me like being some sort of person casting, my judgment on someone from a distance. By being engaged with him in a conversation, it actually takes it a bit more to a personal level, which is a bit more involving.
I think you're right, though. Like, hang out to dry. We can actually imagine a conversation with a few people there, especially
Yeah,
these
so that's
days. Yep.
Yeah, I was sort of worried about the fact that someone might confuse it for me being, talking about some ex-partner or something like that, as a personal relationship, like move out, get lost sort of thing. And so I wanted that to dispel that idea by having the video. And the idea originally was just to have a lyric video, as we see on YouTube, a lot of those clips where just the lyrics going across with the music. Yeah. And I thought, well, the amount of money you spend doing that, probably for not much more, we could actually make something with a little bit more impact. And, I hit upon the idea of using the Bob Dylan clip as a model. And then, of course, how do you make that work? Well, of course, a Donald Trump mask. And there, as I say, on the web was the first thing I looked at. There they were. There's obviously a lot of them out there. I mean, I guess I could probably get a Kim Kardashian one if I wanted as well. Any sort of celebrity will probably have a mask out there. But yes. And so next to that, I saw the Putin mask, which kind of gave me the extra idea of the ending, because the song has a kind of a long ending with, where I'm vamping a little bit vocally and Brad's playing a solo on the wah-wah. And it's like, well, I don't really want to stand there holding up signs saying nothing or just doing nothing much. I thought we should do something else. And that's when I came up with the idea about the golf cart.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Trump's, well-known love of, going golfing instead of doing any sort of actual work. And so I, thought that'd be a good way for him to kind of go from the distance into retirement, so to speak, on this golf cart. And then it developed from there as soon as, the idea of Putin, and for some reason the Thelma Louise ending sort of struck me.
I love it.
Yeah, and the funny thing was the kiss wasn't planned. I'd forgot. I think the night before the shoot, I had another look at the ending of Thelma and Louise, and I realized they do kiss before the final plunge. So that's when I realized we had to do that, and that was kind of like a thrown-in thing. So in fact, that's probably the most controversial thing in the video, is the fact that they kiss, because it kind of really brings home the fact that we think they're pretty much in each other's pockets, so to speak.
Definitely.
So that was kind of nice that kind of played into that narrative.
Yeah. Well, maybe for the next film clip, you can have Brad wearing the Kim Kardashian mask.
We're actually shooting our next video clip in a couple of weeks.
Fantastic.
So, because when we recorded Hung Out to Dry, we recorded 3 singles all at once. We'd planned it earlier in the year, and then when COVID came in, we had to sort of abandon all our plans, and we actually had the 2 singles ready to go. And Hung Out to Dry was really a surprise packet, because we were just expecting that one to be a B-side for the next single. However, when we started rehearsing it, it was like, oh, it's a bit kind of, something going on with this song. It's a bit kind of more interesting than that. It's not just something you just put on the B-side for a bit of fun and never think about it again, which, B-sides, that's what they're good for. Do something a little bit sort of out there and just get, have a lash. But this kind of started to, declare itself as a more important song than that. And lyrically, of course, that was another story as well. So musically and lyrically, we just thought it had something going on. And so we made it a separate single.
Brilliant.
But yeah, so the next two singles though we already planned for. So they've been done. We're just basically mixing them now. We're mixing the next single. We're going to be shooting the video in 2 weeks. And yeah, so we're getting ready for that, which will be out October.
Great. And tell me a little bit about these other two singles. What are they thematically?
Yeah. Well, the next one actually is quite related to Hung Up to Dry, really, as a theme, because you know that was the one that came first, and I think I wrote Hung Up to Dry in a way to fit in with that theme or something. It was obviously on my mind, but basically the theme of the next single is all about when you are surrounded by people that are completely of a different mindset to yourself, whether it's, you know, very hard fundamentalist religious people or, you know, far right people in the case of Donald Trump, you know, and his fans, whatever. And, you know, you realize that you're talking to a brick wall with these people. They really won't change. They're set in their mind that they're completely correct and you're wrong. And what do you do? And the song is basically saying, you get the hell away from them. That's what you do, because you won't change them. You know, they can't change you. If they do change you, that's not good. But, you know, you basically can't fit in with these people. You just got to realize, just give them a wide berth. So that's what the song's all about. And it's musically, it's kind of a bit of a return to the power pop side of the Gurus. So that's kind of nice.
Fantastic.
Very, very power pop. And it's, again, sort of different to what we've done before, but not people not going to be surprised in a sense, because we're well known for having pretty, you know, appetizing melodies, whatever you want to say, you know, and kind of, you know, stuff with a bit of pep going on. So yeah, it's got all that.
Excellent. And yeah, I see where you're going with that. And it's been, I'm incredulous sometimes when I actually took a break from social media for about 4 months, and right. I did not miss it. But you find that you do need to get back on, you know, to see what's going on, especially with music. I love to see what's going on around the world with music. But I mean, I cannot believe some of the people and some of their ideas that they are so adamant are correct.
Yeah, well, some of them are for real, but a lot of them aren't. A lot of them are just basically trolls that have been employed to do that, to distract, to you know, disperse any opposition, to minimize, so they can just get their agenda across. And these are people, you know, state actors, you know, in Russian troll farms, you know, Chinese, whatever. Plus there's the industrial version of that, where people, you know, like coal companies or, you know, oil and gas, propagating their things to stop people who are, you know, perhaps trying to do, you know, things to get alternative energy up. You know, there's so many vested interests in there trying to stop us from getting some sort of opinion that's counter to their narrative they want us to follow. And, you know, it's obvious. I mean, I'm used to that, you know, that thing of people that are obviously fake coming on and just, you know, trying to yell at you and abuse you, trying to basically dissuade you from continuing further on what you're doing, which is expressing yourself.
Yeah.
And you know, they do it many different ways, and it's quite an art form, you know, that some people can pretend to agree with you and then but say something so hateful that you feel kind of creeped out by that and don't want to engage with them either. So or else they just do the straight out thing, as you say, just abuse you and make it so that you, because most people aren't interested in getting into a slanging match and going, you know, like down and dirty and just being vile to each other. But that's what they do to try and just get you to go away and not say what you want to say and basically minimize your opinion. So, you know, you just don't believe a word of it. Anyone you're speaking to could either be a robot, you know, because those AI bots are so sophisticated now that it's very hard for you to distinguish between them and a real person. You just got to kind of just keep your nerve and, you know, not let people, you know, distract you with basically usually ad hominem attacks and, you know, and just fallacious arguments. Yeah. You know, they'll just try and throw it into something else and just talk, you know, it's like, look over here, as we see all the time, you know. Or, but what about is it, you know, you always see that one as well, you know. You know, what about Hillary's emails? That was one we had forever, you know, for the Trump presidency. Every time something would come up, people, what about Hillary? You know, why aren't we talking about Benghazi? You know, like just total fallacies, actually, because it's not actually dealing with the truth of what you're talking about. They're just trying to talk about something else. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I'm just rambling on a bit.
Have you had a lot of trolls, especially with this Trump video?
Well, I've learned how to ban trolls a little bit. There are you can actually ban certain words from YouTube and from Facebook.
Fantastic.
So I've taken away some of their armory in a sense, you know, but we've had a few definitely, and some of them I think were real people, not just you know, employees doing their company line and trying to just, you know, do their business. But you know, we actually had a run in like about 18 months ago with we did a gig for the Greyhounds in Sydney, and this was right around the Melbourne Cup, so that was November. Actually, maybe it was last year. Now I think about it, wasn't that long ago. And if you remember, Taylor Swift was going to be playing the Melbourne Cup, and then she withdrew, and you know, and we were. And it's around the same time we got announced as playing this show for the Greyhounds. And of course, greyhound racing is very controversial, more probably than horse racing. And this was actually to benefit rehoming of greyhounds that are racing dogs, you know, to make them family pets. So it was actually for a good cause. However, that didn't cut any ice with the hardcore animal rights people, because it's like you're supporting greyhound racing by even being on the premises, you know. So we had all these, I mean, and it really came, a lot of them were vegans. And we were getting really hammered, and I, you know, it was kind of intense. And so I've got to say, the vegans were far more, you know, persistent and aggressive than the trolls have been for the Trump one. So I don't want to wish, you know, I don't want the Trump ones to get worse to kind of prove me wrong. But it was, you know, the vegans definitely got it. And it was funny because on Facebook, as I say, it was they I don't know if you've noticed this, but when you visit different sites, whatever, and they might do recommendations for a site you might be interested in. So we had recommendations like fans of Radio Birdman, Midnight Oil, or whatever, all these sort of music ones.
Fantastic.
And whole greyhound for a car, suddenly the top recommendation was single vegans in Sydney. I just thought, wow, we've got a lot of single vegans visiting our site, so they think therefore I might like their site. You know, the Facebook, you know, algorithm thought that. So yeah, that was kind of who was harassing us at that time.
Oh, so did you just do a profile pic of you eating a steak or something?
Look, I to be honest, I did learn something through that process. And the things they taught, I hadn't done a lot of research about it. Yeah, and I did learn about some of the bad things about greyhound racing and, of course, horse racing. And again, you don't realise
so sad,
that there are quite severe, you know, amounts of losses of animals. You know, but the thing is, people tend to throw out the baby with the bathwater, whatever you want to say. They tend to think that anyone involved in that game is actually, that's all they want to do. They don't care about animal welfare at all. But it's not true. These people love their horses, love their greyhounds. The fact that they're involved in a sport that exposes them to risk is a different thing, and I can sympathise very much with the vegan perspective, or, you know, anyone's perspective about animal welfare in this particular case. You know, as I said, if people weren't gambling on it, it'd probably be as popular as pigeon racing. You know,
well, you know, we have this controversy here now that, you know, we're going to stage the Melbourne Cup this year. You know, we're in lockdown, quarantine, and now they're talking about still staging it. Well,
I guess they're hoping that they'll get that, you know, out of this current disaster, you know, phase and into back to a more steady hand. But yeah, look, I can't imagine anything being back to normal really for 12 months for me personally. I mean, you know, it's horrible for music. You know, we were the first out in a way, and we'll be the last ones back.
Yeah.
You know, no one's saying to us, oh, we really have to have gigs right now, but they're all saying we have to have airlines or whatever, and, you know, everything else pretty much. And we're kind of like the last cab off the rank. And I'm not crying poor. I mean, we want people to be healthy and not to be exposed to any risk. But this is a very important industry and very important culturally. You know, human beings are social animals, and culture is what distinguishes us.
I don't think I could live without music. Yeah, definitely.
I know. Well, luckily we've got this way of consuming music now, which we never used to have. But it's a far cry from actually, you know, being able to go to a concert and seeing something and feeling the energy and contributing to that energy by being there, which I really put a lot of stock in.
Did you see today's telecast with the ABC on the National Press Council with
National Press Club? No, who was it?
it was Jenny Morris from APRA, and
Okay, great.
And they were making some really good recommendations to the government. What would you think? What does the industry? How could the government help the industry at this moment?
God, that's a big question. I mean, it's not one I'm really equipped to answer. You know, and it's not just music. Excuse me. It's all of the arts, really.
Yeah.
Like the venues. I mean, you know, these are. It's like we're seeing the UK. They're doing something to slightly address that, but not enough. I saw that the Albert Hall, for example, in 2 or 3 months will be broke. You know, something like that. Incredible. I mean, we could see this. You know, it's devastating, and you know, it's not like these people will be able to restart another business as soon as they, you know, the climate is right, because they'll be broke, they'll be bankrupt.
Yeah.
And you know, and that expertise, and maybe they'll feel like, you know, maybe I should just do something simpler, you know, rather, you know, because it's not the easiest job in the world, you know, running a venue and keeping people coming through the doors. So yeah, it's I don't know what to say other than the fact that, you know, it's an industry I think is being neglected. So it deserves, or not just deserves, it must have more attention from government, because, you know, we've been crying out for it for years before all this.
Exactly.
How about support? You know, we see them giving huge stadiums to AFL teams, you know, building $1 billion stadiums and things like this. It's like, what do they contribute to the economy? Nothing. You know, very little, you know. But music, you know, through and live performance contributes an enormous amount of activity. It's one of the biggest industries in the country, but it's not acknowledged as such, and or it's thought of as some kind of slightly dirty occupation because it's, you know, musicians, and they're doing it for fun anyway, really, aren't they? That's not something we should support.
Yeah, that's right. And they should have something
not that they think that, you know, AFL players aren't exactly, not, you know, they're doing it for fun as well, but they don't seem to think that was, you know, that's more important.
That's right. It's funny how AFL players are never told to have another job to fall back on.
I know. And, you know, for me, like, for example, you know, it's also like politicians, you know, you'll see the Prime Minister go to the AFL grand final sitting in a box and be like a big deal on TV, you know, but the idea of someone going to, you know, see a concert and being that, like, look what the Prime Minister just did. Why isn't that just as noteworthy? And you know, I think it's far more positive, contributing to society, someone supporting culture rather than just, you know, going to see a sporting occasion, which really, ultimately, if you think about it, a bit like the greyhound racing and the horse racing, it's only really matters to the winner as to what really happens. The rest of us are just spectators going, oh, well, good for them. But music, you know, you actually personally get some sort of enrichment. I know it's
definitely. Now tell me, your tour, you know, has been postponed to the USA. What are you doing?
Yeah. Well, if Trump gets in, we may not be allowed to go over. If he gets back in, we might be told we can't go. Yeah, well, basically, that was supposed to happen October, November this year. Now we've moved to September next year. Yeah. So we're hoping that things are a bit more logical, a bit more even keel then. As far as ourselves, we had a bunch of shows planned at different times through the year. But generally speaking, it's funny how this happened. We actually had planned on slightly sort of going quiet for a while, because we had plans for the end of next year, quite extensive ones, and now we've had to pretty much just scrap those, because, you know, now it's just like try and do what we can do when we can do it, rather than, you know, put our eggs in that basket of what we'll do in September next year, which was the original plan. Yeah. So we had an idea of like doing this big sort of tour at the end of next year, and so go quiet next, you know, leading up to that, so we weren't, you know, saturating the market with people having seen us, you know, 3 times already in the previous 12 months. Yeah. So that was the idea. But so in a funny way, we were ready to shut down anyway, in a funny way, and we had money set aside, and so we're okay. But obviously we didn't want to go down to completely zero. So like everyone, you know, and so it's been a bit of a hard thing. And basically the only thing we've really got to excite us at the moment is doing these recordings and you know, promoting them and that sort of stuff.
Well, we're so grateful that you are doing that. Thank you so much. And now tell me, what's the third single? Because about.
Yeah, that's again, it's not 1,000 you know degrees of separation, whatever you want to say. I was going to say 1,000 miles, but I didn't want to do that. It's not not a long way away. It's kind of the, it's a song about basically, getting through a really hard situation, and and whatever that might be. It's not specific to COVID, and it wasn't written with that in mind, but it applies very well to that situation. Yeah. So basically, it's just about soldiering on and doing the best you can, and it's a song about people that are pretty much just doing it tough, but they're going to go and do what they've got to do, and damn the torpedoes, and that's something I heartily applaud. So, and it's a pretty stirring song, and it's, dare I say it, I like to think it's one of my better ones. So, some songs sort of stand out to you as being, how did I write that one? And that was one like that, where it just kind of, I had a melody for it, which we'll talk about it more as I get closer, but I had a melody for the verse and the chorus, and I was actually literally sitting where I am right now one day in my house, and I just thought, we were getting ready to rehearse these earlier this year, as I say, for these new recordings we were planning on doing, and I'm just saying, what songs have I got? I want to finish this one up, and I just started playing it, and I ended up playing it right through the whole bridge section and all that on the fly. Basically, the arrangement that you hear on the record is literally something I played in real time at my house right here.
Wow.
And that doesn't happen very often. Normally you go, well, I've got to think of a new bit, and you sort of try a few things, and it didn't happen that way. I literally it was like it was meant to be. That's how people talk about, when you can, you're sort of almost like receiving it from somewhere else, and you're just a vessel, to kind of transmit. That definitely happened on that occasion. And I had someone who was staying in my house as a house guest at the time, and they went out for a couple of hours, and I was so grateful they weren't there, because I can't do that in front of other people. I've got to write in solitude. So if they had been home, that wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't have been able to receive that particular broadcast. So it's lucky for me.
There would have been too much static.
Yeah, well, I had. It was funny, like for example, way back the song "Cracking Up" from Purity Essence. Was it Purity Essence or Crank? Sorry, Max Schau. I think it was Purity Essence. Sorry, excuse me, I'm not certain. That song was another one where I was again here, and I woke up from I had a house guest staying from Western Australia, where I'm from originally, and I woke up in about 6 o'clock in the morning, and I could hear a radio playing, and I was listening to it, going, "Oh, that's a really good song. I like that. What song is that? Who is yours?" That playing? And it was me. It was actually in my head. And I realized as I was waking up, that's actually not anyone else's song. That's your song. That's in your head right now. So I had to suddenly, and you know how if you don't write a dream down, you forget it, sort of thing. Well, I realized I had to wake myself up and kind of try and remember it. And it was all there. The melody and all the structure and everything was kind of just almost given to me. And I had to rush down and find the phone and sing into the phone and, record the little bits and pieces and all the melodies. And that was pretty much, the song was right there. But again, having house guests, that kind of made it like, well, gee, lucky they weren't up and about. So I was able to do that without getting,
maybe you should.
Someone had started talking to me, would have really thrown it out of my head.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. Well, I know we're, nearly out of time. I don't want to keep you too much longer.
Sorry, I wasted time talking about all sorts of trivialities.
No, I love it. I actually just threw away my questions because I enjoyed the conversation too much. Maybe next time, but
okay.
I'll leave.
Well, we are working let me just say, working towards an album. So that's for next year, we hope. Yeah. And so we've got a bunch of songs that already are penciled in for that, and there's more to come. I was actually even looking at stuff today to sort of try to organize all my little source tapes, those little things, those scraps of memos on the phone and all those things. That turn into songs when I work on them.
Yeah, you know what, I've seen you many times live. I've taken photos of you many times live, but I think the best memory I have of you guys was probably 20 years ago when universities used to have, union nights. And so it didn't matter if you were a uni student or not. I was actually at Melbourne Uni coming to Monash Uni to watch you guys, and it was raining and there was a mound that you could just sort of see down into, you know, you guys playing, and a huge mosh pit, and it was just brilliant.
Oh, that might be longer than 20 years ago, actually. It might be further back, I think. The mosh pit. The mosh pit.
Mosh pit. No, they're always mosh pits for your shows.
Well, sometimes are, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, we love, you know, playing those shows when we play at, you know, colleges and stuff like that. The thing is that I'm excited by is that now we've had to change drummers, and that was a really hard thing for us. It took us several years to do it. Mark retired, then he came back for a while, and Nick was there for a little while, then he went away and he came back. And it's actually been like this return from Nick has been an incredible thing for us, because, you know, as much as we love Mark, and if he'd wanted to stay in the band forever, we would have said, yes, please.
Yeah.
But he wanted to retire. So we had to find someone else. And Nick has just really given us a new lease on life, because his style, actually, we've now merged together where, you know, his style's adapted to us and vice versa. And that's why you're hearing, I think, with both Answered Prayers and Hung Out to Dry, you can hear that it is us, but there's a slight, you know, different kind of energy there coming through as well. It's not just, you know, a retread of something we've done a million times over, which, you know, we never want to do ever. But, you know, even with Mark, we weren't doing that either. But, you know, this is just giving us it's just different possibilities have opened up for us, I think, with Nick. So it's just that thing that happens, like with James Baker, when he was in the band, you know, we were a certain sort of style, and then we changed with Mark, and we, you know, and then we evolved. But, you know, there was a Mark style, I guess, and now we've got a Nick style.
But don't forget, you've always got a Dave style. So it's always going to, stylistically, you've still got that Hoodoo Guru sound that comes through, you know, your songs, and, you know, they're the songs that we love listening to. I can't wait to see you guys live again.
Can't wait to be playing live again. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, 2 questions I'm going to leave you with.
Sure.
The first one, how would you describe the Hoodoo Guru sound in food form?
Food form. Wow. Because I always describe myself in art form in terms of writing. I see myself as kind of like Henri Rousseau, the French painter, you know, who wrote, he did those paintings of like African animals and jungles, but also suburban scenes, you know, in a very kind of hyper real, but they weren't really impressionism. They weren't surrealism. They're something else. Yeah. I sort of see myself as being like him. But as far as food form, gee, that's a hard one, because.
Well, you can do alcohol if you like.
Gee, alcohol's hard too.
Something French?
No, I don't see this as French. Food is hard because, you know, I always talk about the fact that my love of music. I always talk about the fact that, you know, why restrict yourself to one sort of cuisine, so to speak, you know, music terms. And I think the Hoodoo Gurus don't do that. You know, I'll just go with the Elvis one, the Elvis description, which is smorgasbord. He has a great bad Elvis song called Smorgasbord. Yeah. I'm not sure. I think it might be from Brad would know. I think it might be from It Happened at the World's Fair. I'm not sure. But it was one of those bad Elvis songs were in the movies that, you know, there's a whole bunch of crappy songs sometimes, and, you know, and he almost walked through them because he hated them. But there's a song called Smorgasbord, and he's talking about girls, you know, like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Yeah. You know? So, well, we're like a smorgasbord.
I love it. I love it. And when we asked you this question 5 years ago, you actually said you didn't know what it was. We asked you what your scene was. What's your scene? And
well, it's pretty obvious, isn't it? Music's my scene. It's kind of obvious. But I mean, I like movies as well. I mean, I have a lot of different hobbies, but I guess I do like the arts, and I was well known as being a Cronulla Sharks rugby league fan for a while, and I even followed AFL as a Swans fan. But I've kind of backed off on my sporting desire, you know, obsession now. It's pretty much gone away. I watch MotoGP. It's about the only sport I really follow. Mm-hmm. But the arts is back very strong in me again, where, you know, I think because for me, sports were like some people use religion for that as a way to get out, to
Yeah.
have something else to tap into in life.
Yeah.
And I'm not religious. So when we were on tour in America in particular, you'd be on a bus and it'd be very deadening being in the routine over and over. And so looking at sports and obsessing about that was a way of kind of like taking your mind out of where you were, and you could obsess about something that's remote that you couldn't affect, that didn't affect you.
Yeah.
So that was what it was for. And that sort of persisted for many, many years. But now that I'm not touring as much, I don't need that outlet. And also, I'm kind of getting older and going, what do I really value in life? And I value creativity and, and people that are, in tune with, things that they want to interpret and explain or just digest for themselves.
Do you yourself do any art?
Painting, I used to. I don't do. I mean, I design things. I've done. The covers of the records I've been doing lately. I did obviously thought about the design of these videos we're doing.
Definitely.
But I'm not hands-on in that regard in terms of like purely art skills. It's just a bit of photoshopping and a bit of putting things together, really.
Well, I can't wait to see the
colouring in. As a friend I know, the graphic artist calls it colouring in. I do a bit of colouring in.
Well, can't wait to see the next film clip, which is going to come out in 2 weeks. Thank you.
No, it's not coming out. We're filming it in 2 weeks.
You're filming it in 2 weeks.
Coming out in October. Yeah,
October, yeah.
Yeah, so it's set in a rustic pioneer village, like a old 100 years ago time.
Right.
So
are you wearing a cowboy hat, and is it in sepia tone?
No sepia, though I did think about that at one stage. So you're on the same wavelength. No, I'm going to be a banker. Which in this town, because in fact I did for a short time in my life. I was actually a banker.
Wow.
I was a teller. Yeah, when I left university and I failed at being an architect because I was playing too much music. I did nearly a year of architecture and just didn't like it, and I was just playing music the whole time. When I realized that was what I was in life, really was a musician, at that moment I had to kind of face up to it. I realized I had to buy some equipment and I had no money, no prospects, so I thought I'd better get a job, and that's where I ended up, was in the bank. I wasn't very good at it. So maybe I can kind of redress that terrible past error and be a better banker in a video.
And where's it going to be set? Where are you filming it?
We're filming in a place called the Australiana Pioneer Village outside of Sydney. It's in outer suburban area, and it's a family business. These two people, a couple, just basically started buying up old buildings that they were either being condemned or sold or whatever, going to be destroyed, and they just transplanted them to their property. So they've got a whole couple of streets of all these ancient buildings, from 1800s, mid 1800s.
That's beautiful.
And so it's a tourist attraction now, and there's even a haunted house there, a haunted shack, and which I didn't go into, but the director of the video went in there on recce for the shoot, and he wasn't told before he walked in, but he felt a terrible presence, and he felt like his chest was someone was standing on his chest, even though he's standing up. He felt like this terrible pressure, and he freaked out. But then they laughed at him afterwards, and they told him, that's the haunted place. But he didn't know before he walked in.
Wow.
So I think it might really be haunted. I didn't go in the other day. No, I went there on Tuesday, but I'll see if I can summon up the courage to go in. I don't know if I want to disturb that poor ghost. Sounds like they're not happy with someone else going there, so I might just leave that one alone.
That's right. Maybe they won't mind if you do the third clip in there, though.
Well, they might join. They might like seeing us all walking around in costume, because it looked like what the place was when they haunted the place. That might be their life in the past. Might have the era we're capturing. They might appear in the video for all we know.
That would be interesting. I love it.
It would be interesting. A half person wandering down the street.
Now that you know, you're going to actually make that happen, aren't you?
I don't know about that, but we'll see. I have had a couple of small encounters myself with the paranormal, but nothing I really care to speak about at this moment.
No,
but
that's okay. I do believe in all that stuff, though.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know how you explain it. Whether it's some kind of, retained memory in the physical materials of the building. Which I did hear a story once about a plane crash where the parts were reassigned to other aircraft, and then the cabin crew would appear in the other aircraft in the galley. So they had to take all the parts out before, because they had to stop that happening because it was freaking out the regular people. Who were trying to work there.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they're now laid to rest.
Yes, I guess so.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dave.
You're
I'll
welcome.
shoot you a link when this is up. And
Thank you. I'll put it on our Facebook page, and that'd be great.
great. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Mary. Bye-bye.
Bye.